Hi, everybody. Oh, Jesus. And welcome to episode... Oh, man. Audio is really blowing right there. Welcome to episode 66 of the Discussion 5. We are here to talk the 5 most pressing matters, if there are any, for the Detroit Red Wings as the Brothers of Discussion. As you heard at the top of the show, we are part of the Hockey Podcast Network, but we also come to you as the Brothers of Discussion. Mike, tonight, big show, so... let's see, people are listening this Monday morning, so you want to tune in on Thursday to hear our recap of Extreme Rules if you are interested in our pro wrestling talk. But you can find the Discussion 5 and the Brothers of Discussion, everything juicy at bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com. We have our Twitter for the hockey show is at bodhockey, which will probably be getting some good play starting August 1st. Woo! Right now, it's just a lot of snarky comments about how we probably shouldn't be playing hockey. So if you're a huge fan of the fact that there's a return to play, probably, just know that I'm having fun with, the potential death of the NHL and all major sports with the return to play. At least they're going to be in Canada, which is a lot safer than the United States. So they've got that going for them. Anyways. We're also on Instagram at brothers_of_discussion. And we have our YouTube channel that we hope that you'll subscribe to. You can check out these videos, and we've been putting a little bit more production into those. So there's they're a little bit more fun to watch. There's some slides and pictures and stuff in there. So when we're doing our drafts, you actually get to see who we're talking about and some stats. So check that out. It's the Brothers of Discussion on YouTube. I got to remove some of our old... I realized there's some other channels on there. It's the Brothers of Discussion. They were all created by me. But that was before we had this channel now. So that you might get confusing there. But look for the one that actually has videos coming out. All right. Mike.
Woo!
I think that's everything.
That's it.
Yep. All right. Let's sail off.
Another good episode. See you guys next week. All right.
So, there's NHL news for the Red Wings. There isn't too much. So I thought what we could do is kind of start maybe highlighting some potential draft picks for the Detroit Red Wings. And then we're also going to go back and do our redraft game.
Yes.
This week it'll be the 2006 draft. So when I started thinking about who the Red Wings could draft, I started thinking about how the Tampa Bay Lightning were, I don't know, like the first thing I think of. And they're loaded on the forward side of things. And a lot of that, like we talked about last week, is due to some late drafts working out or non-first round draft picks working out, like Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov for Steve Yzerman.
The Cooch!
And
does anyone call him the Cooch besides me?
Just I'm sure there's people out there that call him the Cooch. That's a fun nickname. But I started thinking about the defense and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and it was something for me, at least, when we were facing the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round a few years ago, and we saw some great performances from Peter Mrazek. I remember thinking at the time, man, this is such a great defense, and it's so huge, and how are you supposed to get anything past this defense?
Right.
And I wanted to see how it got built, and I mean, I was actually a little underwhelmed at Steve Yzerman's ability to draft defensemen. So 19, defensemen were drafted by Steve Yzerman while he was a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning's front office.
Seems like a low number.
I don't know. You've got forwards, goalies, and defensemen. You've got to draft over. Or you know what? Maybe I didn't count the last couple of years because we don't know how those the last 2 years don't count because we don't know how they're going to turn out. So really, we're talking 2010 to 2017, right? So
all right, cool. Yeah, okay. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe that's kind of a lot. All right.
I mean, 1 year there were 5 defensemen drafted, but out of those 19 defensemen that were drafted, only 3 played more than 100 games, and
Ooh.
none of them, 0, were a part of like they are a part of like the core right now. Now they did help acquire Braden Coburn and Ryan McDonough, but I mean to that end, I think if we're talking about the ability to like find a talent and say this fits with my team, you could pull the I guess the conclusion that Steve Yzerman doesn't know how to draft defensemen, right? If
you don't have any examples of guys, I mean, essentially 0 for 19. I don't know if you want to. Ryan McDonough really, wiggles your nether regions.
Well, that's who he. You want to. Ryan McDonough is who he traded to acquire.
So
that's,
my apologies.
that's the thumbs up.
That's the extent of it. That was the apex.
So so there's 2 sides of that coin. I mean, the defenseman that he was trading around to pick up the Braden Coburns and the Ryan McDonoughs never really did pan out, because even when I'm looking at who's done well, I'm saying 3 guys have played more than 100 games. That doesn't necessarily mean that they've needed to stay on the Lightning to keep playing. So even if they've moved on or been traded, it looks like Steve made the right choice to make those moves, so that he's brought over some guys that can either produce now. I'm talking about in the last episode we mentioned Liber Hayek. He moves on to the New York Rangers, and that's how Ryan McDonough comes over. We don't know how that's going to turn out. Could turn out fantastic for the Rangers, but Ryan McDonough doesn't. I'll say right now, I like Ryan McDonough. I think that was a spectacular pickup. So when you're kind of comparing, can Steve Yzerman pick up defensemen in the draft? I think the highlight or the only conclusion you can pull from these statistics of 19 defensemen and 3 only working out, and really none of them really becoming like superstars or anything. Really the only conclusion you can pull from me saying that is he doesn't know how to grab defensemen. But we do get to say he does know how to turn them into assets later, and he definitely knows how to pull in forwards. It's just from the defensive side. So the reason I did that, Mike, and I know I'm doing a lot of talking here, was because I wanted to start highlighting some possibilities for the Red Wings. And I kind of looked at like how was Moritz Seider built? What did Yzerman like bringing into the Tampa Bay Lightning? And that's where all of this research came in, because I took a look at William Wallander, who, if you're a huge fan of if you go back and forth on these draft prospects, you're watching junior level games. For this, you'd have to be watching the Super Elite League for William Wallander. But then I started to think, like, well, what did Yzerman do that was successful? And there really isn't a lot to point to from the defensive side for Steve and his drafting abilities. So we've got our fingers crossed right now on Moritz Seider, but I can't believe that hasn't been talked about more when Moritz Seider was picked up. I don't know. All right.
Yeah, I think 2 things going on there. One is that Yzerman is brand new as GM for the Red Wings. Not brand new, but, he's only a year in.
Right.
So we got 1 draft, so we kind of gave him benefit of the doubt, and he kind of got to use that benefit of the doubt. And when he picked his guy, we all just kind of said, it's his first draft with us, whatever. But if you're going to look at precedent, you should have been a little terrified, like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. We've essentially seen him go 0 for 19. How many defensemen has
he did? I mean, he did pick up like Radko Gudas, and he's worked out pretty well for Philadelphia. But I mean,
well,
the idea.
Let me ask you this: How many defensemen did we get last year outside of Seider? Was there one more? Because I was just curious if Yzerman only drafts 19 defensemen and then calls it quits. Like, would Tampa Bay have drafted 91 defensemen if Sergei Fedorov was their GM? I don't know. It was just a numbers joke because Steve was number 19. But
the internet's not working.
I can see your William Wallander connection there, just because he is kind of Mo Seider sized. And, I don't know how many of us are sitting around watching the, Super B Elite League. But, he's got some tallies there. He's a big boy. It sounds like maybe the Red Wings are going to prioritize size a little bit more under the Steve regime, defensively at least. I don't know how much. We're almost going like third or fourth hand information here, especially since we can't really tune in and watch this guy develop. With everything going on.
Yeah.
Do you think that? Would it be something that, because it sounds like they are kind of comfortable with the forwards and they talk a little bit more about the defensemen. What if they go like Sanderson, Wallander 1-2 and just really try to beef up that defense and just put a bunch of chips into one of these defensemen is going to pan out. One of these 6'4" Goliaths is going to pan out.
I mean, that definitely says a lot about what we have going for us right now. I mean, if Steve made that choice, I don't know if that means he sees a lot more in like a Joe Veleno type, or does he just see so little in what we've been watching? Like, is he super disappointed in a Cholowski? Like, is there nothing there even with the age?
Cholowski and Hronek, right? Yeah.
Right, and then you pull up. I'm cheating here, so I'm just pulling up the roster. Besides Moritz Seider, I don't know if there's anybody on here that we look at on the Grand Rapids Griffins that really jumps off and lands in like a top 100 prospect list. I know for us, and I know from reading from The Athletic and guys that specifically cover the Detroit Red Wings, the top name is Joe Hickett, but and this is the Grand Rapids Griffins roster right now. I just don't know if there is enough here. So if that did happen, I feel like and I'm not talking about like Hronek, because we all have a Hroner for Hronek. I'm talking about is Yzerman looking at this pool and watch the season in Grand Rapids and sees so little that's where that happens. And again, is it a reflection more of him seeing enough in Rasmussen? Is Hirose getting a better shot next year? Joe Veleno seems like there's a lot of questions popping up. I don't see enough in any of them. When we do get to see them, I don't see superstar potential from either side. So I think, I don't know. I guess, so this is 2 weeks in a row, Mike, that you've brought up Sanderson getting drafted by us. I really don't think that's going to happen. I really think we're going to go forward there. But I don't think there's enough on either side for us to say, like, you absolutely would have to go forward with pick number 4, because there are so many holes here.
Yeah, I don't know if Steve is gonna, like, he's analyzing this team and it's just, there's so many holes. Like, what are we closer to being elite level at?
Right.
Is it, essentially we have to build like a second and third line, and then defensively, I all we keep seeing is that, well, Hronek, he sure led that team in minutes. So it doesn't seem like people are super high on his performance. You and I were fans of him, but we're going to talk and do this redraft of 2006 and kind of see like what happens with the plan, right? Because we're kind of in the wake of Pittsburgh and their plan. We're going to be at the genesis of the Blackhawks and their plan in 06, and definitely kind of see what Boston plans to do with such a successful 06 for them. So I just wonder if, with the Seider pick, if they do something like Sanderson, and then if they go, we're going to call him William Wallace Wallander, get another giant, is the plan to kind of like beef out this defense and then, start in the middle and work your way out? Because if you have a good defense, we talked about you can get away with having average to bad goaltending. And then, maybe it's something that if you have an elite defense, you're still maybe not scoring goals. So that means you're still going to be able to get good draft picks while still building a strength. But it's tough. there's so many narratives kind of going either way, like to support it. Because again, in 06, you can see, a certain defenseman going up top and, for St. Louis in this year's example. And if they had just gone forward, there were some pretty good forwards that came out, pretty good leaders, pretty good goal scorers. So it's tough.
I would say if the plan, if worked out, and like I said, actually I hadn't said this, but we talked about it before the show. Like Wallander would be someone that would kind of drop to the Red Wings to land them and to land him in the second round in that first pick. Everything was looking fine and dandy. Like hockeyprospect.com has him at 45. Future considerations number 32. McKean's Hockey number 57. Now Central Scouting for European skaters, so just them, he's number 14. And Elite Prospects had him at 27. But the kiss of death is Bob McKenzie, who's influenced by actual GMs and where these players are ranked, has him at number 27. And earlier in the year, he had him at 21. But number 27 ranked right now probably means he's going in the first round. So now, I would say if we had it on our board that Wallander was a strong possibility, like if he was later in the second round, then I bet we go, and we're drafting just defensemen, we probably go Drysdale over Wallander, only because you don't want to, let's mix it up. Let's get a guy who's going to be moving the puck a little bit better than Sanderson. At least that's, again, the report on him. You got a smaller guy, a faster guy. I would probably go in that direction if you thought you were going to be able to get Wallander. But yeah, I'm basically taking a look at some later rankings for these guys, and I want to just grab a couple because we'll be doing this till October, and just kind of bring some guys to everybody's attention. And again, why do you highlight a William Wallander? Swedish, 6'4", 192 pounds, 24 points in the Super Elite League in his first go in the U20. So it's and that's the under 20. He was in the under 17 and actually performed better in the under 20 than the under 17. But it's still the Super Elite League in Sweden. So nothing to sneeze at with 24 points in 37 games for a defenseman, especially a guy built like that who's probably being asked to stay at home. So you got to figure the movement's not going to be as agile. So he's either got a whip of a shot, or or it's just that size right now. He's able to just push guys over.
Yeah,
but
the big reach. He's got the strength. Yeah,
right.
And it looks like he's definitely got some filling out to do at 6'4" and 192.
Yeah.
I'm like another Burger King Whopper away from being 193. So I don't know what he's eating over there, but let's get the guy some Whoppers.
All right. So moving on. Oh shoot. I am not prepared for this at all. All right, so I've been talking about the transition to my new laptop.
Yeah.
I don't have our let's see if I can pull this up.
Are you trying to talk about the Lawnmower 3.0?
Manscaped.
Are you talking about the Lawnmower 3.0?
I am, and I really fucked up right now. Look, we've been talking about the Lawnmower 3.0 for months. I almost said weeks. Months. And that's because it's a product we're super happy with. Let's see what I can roll with here off the top of my head, because I'm not going to be able to pull this up. But you've got the 7,000 RPM motor. You've got the USB charging stand. Beautiful charging stand to show off that you actually are a customer of Manscaped. Mike, this thing really does cut clean, and we've been talking about it for weeks because it's the product I've been using, and thank you, Manscaped, for bringing this to our attention so that we could clean up down in our no-go zone. But that LED lights, you can light up the area where the sun don't shine. It's all just A-plus product for me. Now, and Mike loves it as well. But if you want to try it out, head on over to manscaped.com. Use promo code THPN to get 20% off and free shipping from manscaped.com. Again, promo code is THPN to get 20% off and free shipping, and that's manscaped.com. It's where you can go to pick up the Lawnmower 3.0 and give yourself a nice, close, clean shave. All right. Mike, do we have a local restaurant shout-out this week?
Ooh. Well, it stinks is I did a lot of chains this week. But I'm going to throw another one out there because I'm going to try and do it for dinner today.
Yeah.
Como's Pizza again in Ferndale. They have a new chef as of their reopening a couple months ago, and just really great flavor combinations. Not just your traditional like, hey, here's our garbage can pizza where we just kind of put all the ingredients. This guy has kind of like a BLT pizza, but instead of the lettuce, they'll do spinach, little cloves of garlic. That one's really good. But I think the one I'm getting tonight, Matt, it's pepperoni, sweet honey, and jalapeno. Just the dances of flavors on your tongue. It will make you think of Disney's Fantasia. The sweet, the spice, and then you get the salty with the meat. It's really just a killer combo. The pepperoni's just a little bit thick too, so you got a little something to really sink your teeth in and chew on. It's something I look forward to, and it's not a cheap pizza. And I think for that price, if you brought it home, you'd be kind of upset if it didn't taste good. But with that,
Usually I'm okay with it if it's Little Caesars. I'm like, this tastes like dog shit.
I mean, you get what you pay for. If you eat a crappy Little Caesars, that's on you. You ordered Little Caesars, but for that price, you're like, this better be a damn good slice of pizza. And you take a bite, and you're like, oh. So you're still happy with an investment pizza. That's what I'm saying. So bravo to Como's. You're getting my business again. Matt, your restaurant shout out.
Well, I thought of one out in Lansing that's Cosmos is the pizza place. You just made me think of it because that's where I had. This was their pizza of the day, or it was surprised me. So it might not even be something they make for everybody. But it was a strawberry chorizo pizza.
What?
So good.
What the hell's a strawberry chorizo pizza?
I mean, it's those same elements you were talking about there. You get a little bit more tang when you're cooking up some chorizo with some fresh fruit. But yeah, the sweet and salty was at the core of it. So good. But the thing I was actually thinking of mentioning before you brought up your pizza experience, I just had to give a quick shout out to Aberrant Ale, who's got a beer I'm going to go pick up for my dinner tonight. And I'm really happy of that Aberrant Ale is doing this because where I live. I live in Howell. This is on Main Street in Howell. Their new beer is called Black is Beautiful, and for one, this is a town that needs this type of business that is supporting Black Lives Matter. So right in the heart of Howell, you can't just escape into your little bubble of shitty white people. I don't know. All right. So Black is Beautiful is a 10%er with coffee, chipotle, and chocolate notes.
Nice.
When I saw this, I sent you a text immediately because I check their board online every day just to see what's going on. I'm calling them. I'm getting my growler, and I'm gonna have a good time tonight. All right. 2006 NHL Draft. Mike, this is the continuation of the build of the Boston Bruins, but the first piece was drafted for the Chicago Blackhawks this year. Shady Nasty.
The Blackhawks dynasty.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shady Nasty. So we're talking about Jonathan Toews getting drafted in the first round. One of the notes that you and I talked about before we even started recording here was Jonathan Toews is not the MVP of this team. He's not the guy that I think...
He's not the stat sheet MVP.
Right.
But is he the Yzerman-like MVP?
Right.
Obviously, Yzerman had higher mountains as far as points in a season.
Yeah.
I think you could count on Steve a little bit more for goal scoring, but I Tape's taking that number 19. That definitely was pretty purposeful. And with these Blackhawks Stanley Cups, he was a monster in the playoffs. Just a super reliable guy. Not just leading the team. That's when he got his points, was in the playoffs.
Right.
He took home. God, what is the name? What is the name of the trophy? What is in this Tequila Sunrise, Matt? For playoff MVP. Because he took home the Conn Smythe.
It's funny that you say that because I for the longest time I always related like goaltenders to winning the Conn Smythe. So I always would confuse when I was younger. I'd always confuse.
Oh, that was the goaltending.
Yeah, I'd always confuse the Vezina and the Conn Smythe. So when I was going through like so I would think it was called the Vezina, and then when I would go through like who's won the Vezina, I'd go, wow, look at everybody that wins the playoff MVP is a goaltender. That's nuts. And then I'd continue to just push the wrongness of that thought even further, and then I would go, I think I fucked it up and realized I was saying the wrong thing when I was talking about so and so winning the Conn Smythe, and then it was like, well, they're not even in the playoffs, and I was like, yeah, but they did so good in the regular season. Maybe you should give it to them. All right. So
let's just real quick with the shady nasty too. Like, being in Detroit, we've always kind of ground our molars whenever we see any kind of success with the Blackhawks. But I gotta say, I don't think anyone has a real, like, Taves has never been a pain in the ass. I think he's always kind of been like the diplomat, kind of that middle ground where he's like, all right, boys, I'm gonna go talk to namaste. I think he's always been like the one guy that we trusted on Chicago, that he wasn't getting 3 or 4 goals. God, why do I want to keep saying Kane? I kept wanting to say Sharp, and I knew that was wrong. He wasn't making us mad on the stat sheet. It just seemed like he was, a genuine good dude. And I think the Blackhawks treat him as such. I mean, you're going to bring him up in a minute here as a good boy award winner.
I think we all know, like, Patrick Kane is the points guy, but man, is he a fucking piece of shit.
I just hate looking at him. It's his face.
Well, I mean, plus the rape. So.
Oh, well. Ooh.
I mean, look, I know we can't, like, the case was thrown out, so all we really know is that there were allegations and then they were thrown out. So the conclusion that one who's a lawyer would have to make was that those allegations were false. But I think, I mean, come on, all right, we can't really say anything, but I mean, Patrick Kane's a piece of shit. All right, so I mean, we're talking Roethlisberger piece of shit level. All right, so I did, Mike, make a mistake because I wanted to kind of take a dump on Taves and his career. Turns out, website I was using for pulling statistics actually does not do a great job of pulling statistics because it filters out into doing like power play and penalty kill and 5-on-5 like
nice.
randomly. So I didn't realize it wasn't set properly. So what I want to do is highlight Taves is really he had a fantastic career from an expected goals percentage point of view. And if I could compare him to Pavel Datsyuk real quick, Pavel's best year for
any
expected
excuse
goals,
to bring up Datsyuk, you son of a bitch.
Well, yeah. His best year for expected goals was when we won the Cup in 07-08. It was actually 63.45. And again, the expected goals is this measurement of when you're on the ice, where the shots are being taken. So it's not just the Corsi and the puck possession. It's do you actually have an opportunity to score goals here? And for Pavel Datsyuk, the expected goals for in 07-08 was 51.14. Expected goals against was 29.46. Just fantastic numbers. So if we go over to Taves, he actually has comparable years in 2009, 2010, 2012, 2013, 2013-14. Now he did start to decline at 15-16, whereas actually he was giving the expected goals against was higher than the expected goals for. But I mean, with that, you get 3. How do I want to? I don't want to say MVP caliber because MVP defines itself in a different way as like who had the most points. But I mean, this really is the MVP. Like this is where this guy's on the ice, and you've got this 2-to-1 kind of like goals in my favor to goals I'm allowing, and it's just to me. This really is a game changer, and I'm glad I actually had an extra minute to take a deeper look at these stats, because if I had just come out and said, well, it wasn't so great, which was the fault of me filtering these stats on Natural Stat Trick. I'm glad I took that second and saw the truth here, because Taves is a difference maker. I'm not really, like, people aren't listening to this going like, wow, yeah, Taves really is a difference maker. But I'm just saying, from a statistical perspective, if we can measure, is Taves worthwhile? Was he worth the high draft pick for the Chicago Blackhawks, despite not being like a Hart Trophy finalist? Absolutely. Boom.
Yeah.
All right.
I every time now that we keep doing these back to back, watching the Capitals, watching Pittsburgh, and now we're going to start doing Chicago. I don't know if I want to lump in Boston, because, you know, this year they just hit like an absolute like 3 grand slams and like back to back picks.
Right.
But just like having like high draft picks and hitting on them, God, I'm so envious. I just want the Red Wings to stop getting screwed with these, you know, with these drops in the lottery, because I would really like to see us have our version of, you know, what Chicago starts this year in Taves. And going forward, you know, with high skill, high ceiling, productive players. So maybe next year we'll, you know, get in the top 3 at least. But yeah, we can move on from Chicago. The one guy I know we wanted to talk about for a quick second is, you know, as we get closer and closer to like modern day, how much harder it is to keep track of guys who play 800 games. You know, we had 12 from this season have played 800, you know, playing up to today. And miraculously, one man has played 1,000. Man, it's Phil Kessel.
Woo!
Definitely a thorn in the Red Wings side.
Hot dog man himself.
The old hot dog man. I always wanted him on the Red Wings. It just felt like something about when pucks touch his hockey stick, they just want to go in nets for some reason. But Matt, how is he at 1,000 games? I know you posed the question: is he playing extra games when we're not looking? Is this a lot like Bill Goldberg's win streak, when he would just jump from like 10 wins to 35? And I'm like, are you going to indie shows? Are you doing a hot weekend tournament at Ring of Honor? Like, what? How are you getting all these extra games? But if anything, I think you want as many games with Phil Kessel on the ice as possible. So yes, I would be playing him for my minor leagues. I'd be shipping him back and forth, putting him on, risking him on waivers just to get him on the ice even more to see that productivity. Excellent player, winner. You know, he's 100% going to be going pretty high in our redraft. Big Phil Kessel fan over here, and no effing idea how he has played all those man games already. Insane.
Well, this is actually, I'm trying to pull this up. You've got the 2005 NHL Draft. You've only got 3 guys that have played 1,000 games, and that's a whole nother year of hockey that they could have potentially played over Phil, and they've only got 10 more games. So here's the thing. I mean, we don't like plus minus, but you throw Phil Kessel out there, you got to mention he's a minus 107. So he does score a goal.
Those are my boys, all right? I like those guys. Let's get some. Let's roll those dice. Oh.
Well, that's the conversation of who's better. Do you take a guy like Jonathan Taves or Phil Kessel, and you have a guy that has multiple seasons where he's just crushing it, 2-1. 2 goals when I'm out there, 1 goal when the opponent's out there, potentially. And do you take the guy who's just got, a goal connected to his hands when he's holding the stick? So I mean,
man, you're talking to the Red Wing fan base. All right, you know how in love we are with Robbie Fabry? This is like Robbie Fabry just inflate the crap out of his numbers. Like, yeah, let's rock and roll. You might let a few in, but look at that stat sheet, huh? Yeah, just don't focus on the plus minus, man. Don't look at that. Just look at those goals and assists. Look at them tally up. That's what I like.
So to kind of bundle that with our scouting department winners, we want to talk about Boston Bruins first. Brad Marchand. I'm losing power. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh shit! All right, Brad Marchand, Lucic, Phil Kessel, going for the Boston Bruins. Here's what I just looked up, Mike. And a lot of people know this because they bring it up all the time with how dumb the Toronto Maple Leafs are. But so they, this is incredible because this actually didn't even pan out too great for the Boston Bruins from a perspective of guys sticking around. But Phil Kessel is drafted by the Bruins. Fantastic job, with those list of players. And that's what we're trying to say is the scouting department did a great job finding these guys. But then they trade Kessel to the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs trade the 2010 first-round pick, second-round pick, and a 2011 first-round pick. Those draft picks turn into Tyler Seguin, one of the top forwards in the league, and Dougie Hamilton, one of the best defensemen in the league. Effing incredible. This trade.
You can't see Boston. Woo! Man.
Well, of course, Seguin moves on. Dougie Hamilton moves on. This is such a great, to think that's what that trade resulted in, and this Phil Kessel draft pick by the Boston Bruins has affected the NHL even to this day. Now that Kessel
waves of influence.
Now that he's a Coyote. It really is. It's incredible. And of course, Kessel moving over to Pittsburgh eventually to help them win 2 straight cups. And then he's on the third line because Crosby and Malkin couldn't mesh with him. He's just, you know what? Give him his hot dogs, give him his goals, let him end his career in Arizona because he's got his cups. So, good on Kessel for just sticking around and getting moved around like that. But all right. Also,
real quick, I know in our circle that we call him the hot dog man. Does that transcend anywhere else?
I think so. It started with
besides being a goal scorer and who doesn't play any defense. He does wear a lot of yellow jerseys, so it could be mistaken for mustard. That's why I really like that association as the hot dog man.
Well, now that he wears a brown jersey, he can get covered in hot dogs.
Spicy brown. Yeah.
That's pretty dark brown.
Or like a cooked weenie, I guess.
Yeah.
Cooked
other
wieners.
winners, I think we're just talking about man games here because we don't really have a lot of names for the Maple Leafs. But, on that list, we include James Reimer. So is that really what the Maple Leafs turn around and look back at this draft and go, man, that really helped us? No. But, good on the Maple Leafs for pulling a lot of man games played.
Yeah.
And then the Washington Capitals, Mike, I want you to tell this story because you're going in 2 different directions on this.
Yeah, if only, we try to keep track of, like you were saying, Boston did kind of disband some of those amazing draft picks, but, it ended up working out for them in the end. So it's not necessarily, or the good boy award winners, or their career, players for your team, but it's like you picked a guy, he's rocking and rolling, right? With Washington this year, they are so good at assessing talent that can skate. So we put them as the winners because they bookended their draft with 2 excellent centers. And Nicholas Backstrom, who obviously is a little bit on the Ovechkin coattails. So those assist numbers are going to be through the roof. I could probably get 50 points playing next to Ovechkin. And I can't really skate. But still, Backstrom, he still had to get the puck on the tape in some capacity. Well, probably not on the tape, but in his hockey stick, his firing radius. So in some capacity, some skill was required. So Backstrom gets credit there. But they also got Matthew Perreault, who we're going to talk about in a quick second, because he was our Datsuk Diamond in the Rough Award winner.
Hey everybody! So just so you know, this is going to be awkward. Oh, Mike, I don't have a video of you yet, but I just lost power, so we're going to kind of reset here, but we were busy gargling on Matthew Perreault's balls, and let me kind of reset here where we were, because Matthew Perreault is winning our Datsuk Diamond in the Rough Award, drafted at 177, and was also part of the reason why the Washington Capitals are in our scouting department winners. So I'll get through this. 324 points in 627 games. Datsuk Diamond in the Rough, we are defining someone that was drafted late and found some success. It's really hard to find guys that have this much success that late in the draft, especially as teams start to really ramp up their scouting departments and finding the right ways to scout. And guys like Datsuk just aren't popping up anymore late in the draft. So to see a guy who's getting a half a point per game at 177 is pretty rare. But Mike, as soon as you're back up, I'm not sure. Right. But you also and feel free to chime in here. Oh, you know what? And now I lost Mikey. So it's just me going. But what Mike was trying to describe here was why would a team and I feel like I need to let him explain this because it's just it's a little I feel like I might do this, but what Mike was talking about was drafting two different goalies back to back just to see if one of them's going to work out. So I'm gonna keep rambling here, Mike, and then you can jump on for the Washington Capitals. But for my scouting department losers, I've got the Calgary Flames, who I said they got nothing. So Mike, you have it listed here as 13 man games out of this draft. Tampa Bay 7 man games. Florida with 43 man games. The New Jersey Devils less than 200 man games, and the Nashville Predators with 56 man games. This goes back to 2006, so a little bit different if we were comparing drafts in the last 5 years, and you still want to see guys see where they pan out. But I mean, this is a lot of nothing coming from this draft. There's Mike. But
hey, backup camera. All right, we're back.
You don't like the Washington Capitals strategy.
Yeah, it was just So, yeah, what I was saying is that I used to go to Macy's at the mall, and they made this really great sandwich where the bread was like this apple cranberry that they would like lightly butter and lightly toast. So it was nice to grip, even better to taste. And, I mean, they sandwiched it, Backstrom, Perot. And in the middle, it's like they just put like a shit hot dog in the middle because I don't understand. It was like two different people were in the war room making picks. You're really good at picking the skaters, but for some reason they had a second first-round pick, and with their second-round pick, they went back-to-back goalie, and neither one panned out. I mean, Semyon Varlamov, you know.
I mean, he had some serviceable seasons.
He was fine, you know, but and then Newverth. I see you over there, Matt. Give me that pronunciation. How'd I butcher that?
It's Neuwirth. You were close.
Neuwirth. No, but it just screams to me that if they did that, it kind of feels like going in. I don't know if either one of these guys is going to be superstars. Let's just try it twice. And it's just not just are you trying back to back. You're trying back to back with high picks, and you're confessing it's not just getting two goalies in one draft here. You're getting them back to back, which means you don't feel super confident either way. So it's just if you're at that point, you probably just shouldn't do it.
So here's my counter argument. I think that goaltenders are the most wishy-washy of all. I mean,
relief pitching.
The Athletic asks all hockey players like who is the best goaltender in the league, and despite a lack of hardware in regards to winning some Stanley Cups, every year they vote Carey Price. And I mean, last season or this past season, 909 save percentage. 2 seasons ago was a 900 save percentage. Goals against in the threes, and he still gets listed. I mean, even when he was picked to be the starter for Montreal, a 905 save percentage in 2012-13. Now, Carey Price wins a Hart Trophy. He is great, but I'm just saying, like, it goes in so many different directions over a career. Now, Carey Price has a 917 save percentage. So if I had to go back and look at Varlamov, who ends up with he got some MVP votes for one of his seasons, and now he's got a .915 save percentage. Goalies are so hard to come by. I think Varlamov actually has a pretty good career. 267 goals against. Most of the career worked out for Colorado, but I don't know. I applaud this strategy. If you have to find a way to make goaltenders work, I think you do have to pick up in those middle rounds. You have to pick up a couple goaltenders every year, and that's what I do. That's what I do in the video game.
I would be prepared to see some Red Wing moves like that, because we don't really have anyone in the pipeline. It's basically Bernier and nothing else. So this might be a season, Matt, where we're going to find out if that strategy works. Because woo-wee.
Yeah,
it's either that or the Holtby rumors. And there's some news stories about him saying, "Yeah, this might be my last run before I go and cash out in Detroit." Boom. So we'll see what happens.
And I think the argument I would make is like maybe not two goaltenders right next to each other. Like that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, Varlamov paid off. If you want to look at how his career panned out in Colorado, but I still hate like drafting goalies that early, because we see how his career really did, bounce up and down so much that you could probably get the same bounce, or at least tag, the one season you're going to get to try and win a Stanley Cup with a good forward and defensive core with a later round draft pick. But anyways, as we're going to point out too, once we do the redraft, there's a huge drop off in regards to production in this draft as well. So Boston did great. Not too much after that. Good boy awards go to Nicholas Backstrom, Jonathan Taves, Claude Giroux, and Brad Marchand, sticking around with the same teams. And Backstrom just inked that new deal with Washington, so we know that's going to continue. Could have been different. They had to pick between Holtby and Backstrom, and they picked Backstrom. There's that chance that the Red Wings are going to pick Holtby. And then, you know what? This information here that we have for our good old wing dinghies, that is...
Yeah, it was
that is not
pretty barren year for the Wings. We didn't really get a lot out of Corey Emerton, who was our first pick. Sean Matthias had a pretty good career, not for us. And besides that...
I remember everybody getting excited for Jan Mersak, but yeah, like that's funny when we go through this, and like Larson was another name that I remember getting excited for, and of course we see the no man games. So it's funny how like people do get excited because they see some goals scored for the Griffins. But it's just, you got to keep that level head, because I remember being, just over the moon when Mersak was getting a shot. And just, I mean, we see how it panned out. So it's just one of those things, like, a lot of these guys are not going to pan out. And that's why I think I'm so guarded when it comes to looking at, like, a Joe Veleno, and how many people, like, are so quick to go, well, he's definitely a third line guy for us, but wouldn't it be great if he was a second? And then I'm like, whoa, okay, what have we seen to say that he's definitely a third line guy for us? Not exactly like MVP level stats coming out of Grand Rapids, so I don't know how you're going to transition that into like a serviceable third line NHL forward. I don't know what people are seeing besides the written about potential. If you catch my drift, like it's just, sure, you can read that stuff, but what are we actually seeing that says like NHL level? Like I don't know how you could make an argument where if he's not running a first line in the minors, how do you make the argument that it transitions perfectly a third line center into the NHL? It's tough for me to believe in. And again, I'm so guarded because I've seen so many of these go the wrong way.
Right.
All right. So, redrafted the top 10 of the 2006 draft. Mike, you ready? I think you get the first pick this time.
Yeah, I think I do too. it's just, sometimes we try to do a little positional consistency. Because originally the St. Louis Blues had the first pick and took Eric Johnson.
I like what you're going. I like where you're going here.
He was fine. He had that one horrific golf injury. My God, who knew golf could be so strenuous? Golf injury that kept him out of playing in the NHL for a season.
I think it was listed as a golf cart injury.
Ooh, that's a little more interesting. I think I would definitely, if there was a way for me to add cart into my golf injury, I would definitely include that.
Yeah, somebody was fucking around on the course.
You got injured playing golf. Golf cart. Very important distinction. Golf cart. But St. Louis, I think that this is a season. It looks like you were trying to. I don't know if you thought you were getting the next Nick Lidstrom. I don't know if you thought that you were going to be smarter than everybody else in the room. I can't do that to you. I can't give you Eric Johnson again. I'm not even going to do this thing where we do that positional consistency. Matt, this is the redraft. You have to get the most valuable player. As much as I love my boy, the hot dog, Uncle Phil, you have a guy who's going to lead your team. His freaking number is number 19. Matt, 3-time Cup winner, a Messier Award winner, a Conn Smythe Trophy winner, which turns out does not only go to goaltenders, a Selke Award winner. In Detroit, we love those because of our beloved dat suit. Matt, number 1 pick, it's Jonathan Toews. And I don't know if it's really close. I know that there's guys who are going to score a little bit more. We talked about some other guys getting on the coattails, but this is a guy who leads the locker room. He's the ultimate diplomat. He's a playoff proven performer, which regular season's great. This is a guy who steps it up, to win the big games, to score important goals, to kill important penalties. I don't think you can go anywhere but Jonathan Toews turning around the St. Louis Blues at number 1.
All right. Well, I am going to go with some consistency with the position. It would have been great. God, it would have been great to see the Penguins lock up Evgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby, and Jonathan Toews. But I'm going to my draft board right now. They're still going to pick up. They're still going to pick up a worthwhile center, and instead of Backstrom getting to play with Ovechkin, let's see how he does with Malkin for his whole career. So Backstrom on my draft board, I actually put him as number 1. I still see a lot of great expected goal statistics, and Jonathan Toews was my number 2. So I actually made a draft board this time, everybody. So I'm prepared. But Nicholas Backstrom going to the Penguins. Another top draft pick for those goddamn Penguins. God damn it. See how well that works out, NHL, when the shitball team gets to draft at the top? Jesus. All right. So what did I just say? Backstrom. All right, Mike. So you got the Blackhawks. They've lost Jonathan Toews.
They lost the guy who basically built their shady nasty.
All right. So what do you
do now? Well, I don't, as much as I love the hot dog, as much as I love Mr. Mustard himself, put a little mustard on that mustard, Uncle Phil. I can't do it. I'm still going to go responsibly here. I'm still going to go for leadership. I'm still going to go for a guy who's not quite at the Toews and Datsuk level for Selke. Matt?
I think I know where you're going. I'm going to say I think he is.
I'm going Brad Marchand.
Oh. Okay.
Maybe it's a reach. But he's still up there for Selke votes. He's still a productive player. Still getting an all-star. Still getting a leader. Still getting a winner. Still getting a playoff performer. He's just a little bit down the pecking order. And you get the same position. And, he's still got a cup. He's still got that cup. So I don't think they're going to be super bummed. I don't think they're getting quite the this is the second time we're referencing him today, William Wallace type of leader that we got out of Toews. We're still getting maybe like a bee rabbit leading the crew, an 8 Mile kind of leader. So give me Brad Marchand. I don't think that they would be too devastated by getting that guy. We like those defensive forwards in Chicago and Detroit. And I think Chicago would be okay with that.
Well, I'm gonna throw out a guy. This is who I thought you were going with. And actually, this is funny because this is lining up right with my draft board. It's just the number 1 and number 2 were switched. But for me, I'm going Claude Giroux. I think this is a guy. This is a game changer for your team. I actually think when it comes down to it, Backstrom did have a great career, and I think it makes a lot of sense for him to go to Pittsburgh because he's going to be surrounded by the all-stars that are Crosby and Malkin, just like he was surrounded by Ovechkin. So I think you could see a similar track. But I do think that Claude Giroux brings to the table, like, he's got ownership of a team. And I actually think this just despite Backstrom working out so well for the Capitals, I actually think this works out better for the Capitals in the end. I mean, this is a guy now that really is going to command his own line rather than just being. Backstrom had his time too, but I think that Giroux over time proved from a scrappy perspective, a defensive perspective, that he really could do a little bit more with a lot less. And you don't have an Ovechkin on the Philadelphia Flyers over the last 20 years. But you've got Claude Giroux, and that's what he was for the Flyers, and to bring that over to the Caps, I think we might be looking at a couple more cups for the Capitals instead of just the one a couple years ago.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think I like it a lot more because it leaves a little somebody with a little smoky flavor, huh? A little spice, a little yellow.
Yeah.
It's number 5. I think Boston's not changing a goddamn thing. We're taking Phil Kessel, but this time we're keeping him. All right. Now we have the crystal ball. We know he's going to help out Pittsburgh, win a couple cups. We were patting Taves on the back for his leadership and his playoff performance. Phil, actually, a pretty good playoff performer, man. His plus minus is a lot stronger in the playoffs. He is positive. He's basically a point a night guy in the playoffs, and then he leads this draft class in games played. He's right up there for most points. Easily a guy you can put on your first or second line to get you some much needed offense. We're so desperate for goals that anytime a person in Detroit sees pucks go in nets, there's a little wiggle in the nethers. So I think that Phil Kessel, he's going to do great in Boston. This time, stay there. Even though that trade, did work wonders for Boston. I think you could still make a case that Uncle Phil, chubby-cheeked Uncle Phil, Mr. Hot Dog himself, I think that he could still have success in Boston. I think they run it again. Give me number 5.
And I mean, maybe their change is they hang on to all those awesome draft picks they had. But, what are we talking about? They've also been one of the most successful teams from this point. So, I mean, do they really want to change too much? No. All right. So, Blue Jackets are going to get, I think, a pretty good change. We're talking about a guy who's getting Selke votes pretty much his entire career. So, Jordan Staal, head on over to Columbus and have a good time. I actually listed Jordan Staal on my draft board. I ranked him above Phil Kessel. So, I was going to give the Bruins Jordan Staal, and I was going to take Kessel over in Columbus. But I'll put Staal in Columbus. I mean, it matches their pickup of a center, and now they've got a guy that's a career two-way forward, and nothing to sneeze about when you're a half a point per game too. So go Blue Jackets.
Absolutely, Matt. That moves us into the next pick. A team that, at least since you and I have really started watching, hockey, past like the 80s, the Islanders have always just seemed like they're in the toilet. And they took Kyle Opasso originally, winger. It seems like going in order, there actually is a wing that we can do slightly better with. At least that I think he's a sexier name. I think it also kind of helps break up this Boston Bruins dream team where 06, they were just running the gamut. Everything they touched turned to gold. So we're going to pillage the Bruins a little bit, give the Islanders a little boost. They're getting Milan Lucic. I'm a fan of this dude. Another little bit of a defensive forward. I think he scores a little bit more than he plays defense. He's not quite the defensive abyss that is Mr. Hot Dog, but he's on the ice. He's got some all-star votes. Solid dude. I don't think you can be too upset about that. You get a slight upgrade. He's also a guy that you're going to get full seasons out of. He basically had back 80, 81, 81, 82, 82, 79. And then, was, on a pretty similar trajectory this season with Calgary, obviously before all the COVID shit hit the fan. But I don't think you're going to be too upset about a guy who shows up every night, winner, scores in the playoffs. I wouldn't mind having Lucic on my team.
Okay. Here's my thing.
Here we go. Here we go. I already see who you wrote in. You son of a rascal.
Well, this is kind of silly because I actually left my draft board order, but I still like this idea better, and I'll say for two reasons. Erik Johnson he's not a terrible defenseman, so this is a great pick for the Coyotes to bring over to the team. But number two, he goes down because of a golf cart injury. I can only assume he was at a hilly golf course. So if we take him over to the desert, it'll be a flatter plane, and there's less potential for those golf cart injuries. So if Erik Johnson wants to just go full board, with a lead foot on the golf court, he'll be safer. So yeah, for Arizona, they're gonna go ahead and pick up Erik Johnson, and he's gonna have one less knee injury to put onto that career.
Thanks,
all right,
man.
Mike. I think I gave you a nice, easy. Looking at my draft board, I'm gonna say there's a lot left.
There's certainly. Let me double check one thing here. My boys in the room. We're scrambling and looking at our own roster to see if we can make this move.
While you're doing that, I just want to point out, so you've got Backstrom 927 points, Kessel's got 861, Taves 815, Claude Giroux 815. Then there's a huge drop by about 200 points from Giroux down to, and we know Brad Marchand is good, but down to 646. Then another huge drop down to Jordan Staal at 537. So if we're strictly talking difference makers from close to an MVP level, that's been gone. After the first three picks. So if you're looking for that, or I'm sorry, probably the first four picks. If you're looking for game changers, they're gone. Now you're looking for guys to fill holes, or you're looking for those second and third line guys that are going to be a good two-way forward for you. Get some penalty kill minutes in there. We're way past MVPs here. But Mike, what's your team put together?
Our boys went into the war room. We got a 28-year-old Nicholas Backstrom, and I'm trying to buy a house, so that's what's going on right now. We got a 28-year-old Nicholas Backstrom. We got a 32-year-old Manny Fernandez. And I feel a little apologetic about my criticism of Semyon Varlamov. And bless him, maybe this is just my apology to him. He's going number 9 in Minnesota. I think we need somebody working through the ranks. We need a guy who he's got pretty solid numbers, man. He actually did make an all-star game as a goalie. There aren't as many of those slots available. And God bless him. He helped Colorado. Colorado, I think we're going to learn, is kind of the model for Detroit. As far as what they do with number 4 picks.
Yeah.
Getting screwed in lotteries. And I think that, this is a guy who benefited them. So what I'm hoping is we'll follow this Colorado model. Minnesota, you're going to do it. You're going all in on Varlamov. And I apologize, but I'm not putting all our eggs in the 32-year-old Manny Fernandez. We're moving on from that. Give me the Varlamator.
Well, I love that pick, and I brought up like the Carey Price statistics because I was like, all right. I mean, honestly, this guy's career is actually comparable to Carey Price, so I know that's gonna like a lot of people are gonna like cringe at that, but when you look at the statistics, it's true. He really does compare. So I'm just also saying like Carey Price has had some pretty far downs as well as the very high ups. So when you're looking for a goaltender, and I know we don't like picking goaltenders very high, that's because we don't know how.
But this is crystal ball.
But we know.
Oh, goaltender drafting.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So I was actually going to take Varlamov at number 10. So I'm just going to go ahead back to my draft board. And I'm actually looking at the number 7 guy I ranked. It's Kyle Okposo. He's getting drafted by the Panthers. Unfortunately, that probably means the death of his career. It's not going to pan out like he hoped. I mean,
what do you mean he's going to thrive with Stephen Weiss?
I was going to say the best thing he's got going for him is that now he's in Florida. So going from the Islanders to Florida, he's stuck with cities and audiences that don't care. But now he's in warmer weather. So light it up.
His muscles be all loose from all the heat just coursing through his body. Yeah.
It's a win for him. And this also matches the Panthers looking for a winger. And I feel like the last few drafts that we've been looking at for the Panthers, they're picking up goaltending. So I don't want to give them I kind of listed for funsies. I was like, how about Jonathan Bernier too? He's on my draft board.
I really like Matt your attentiveness to geography in your draft picks. That's what I appreciate. You guys got problems with bumps. Let's take them to the desert. Come on in. Let's go. Car rides are fine.
Flat as far as the eye can see. All right.
Yeah.
Actually, deserts aren't necessily flat, but I figure.
No, I've heard there's like a Grand Canyon out there or something.
Yeah, so he might take a huge drop off. Yeah, don't hit that hill too hard. All right, everybody. So we apologize for the technical difficulties there. Mike, thank you so much for just coming right back in. I know you've got to go. So Mike, thank you. And everybody check us out at brothers_of_discussion on Instagram. Find us on Twitter at BOD Hockey, and subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts for the Discussion 5. And find us as the Brothers of Discussion on YouTube, where we do host both of our wrestling shows and hockey shows. So if you subscribe there, you're not going to miss either one. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi everybody, this is Matt Klink of the Brothers of Discussion, reminding you that you can find the Brothers of Discussion at bodpodcast.com, brothersofdiscussion.com. Find us on Twitter at bodpodcast, and of course we are bringing you content every Thursday, if not during every Monday Night Raw, every NXT show, every AEW Dynamite, every SmackDown, every pay-per-view, every major show happening in the United States. The Brothers of Discussion are covering it, so if you want good wrestling coverage, come to the Brothers of Discussion. Thanks, everybody.
Like you're a slob.
Like, shut your whore mouth. That's it.
Yeah, like the phrase pigeon toss, like I find that hilarious. Like, as if you were to toss a pigeon.
What
Like,
the fuck is a pigeon toss?
no, like you just pigeon toss a guy out of the way, like.
Let's go, he scores!
Don't forget to catch
Stick in Rink, the healthiest podcast in the Vancouver area.
every Monday on the Stick in Rink podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts from, or on the Hockey Podcast Network. Every team, everywhere.
You know how fucked I am in the head? When you said pigeon toss, the first thing I thought of was midget toss.
We're back.